Hey, everybody. Good to have everybody here. Give me just a second here. Flying solo today. We've got a little bit of a change up to what's going on today. Miss Amy had apparently an issue. She had surgery a couple weeks ago and apparently was having some pain issues with her back. So she decided, or not that she decided, she's actually was not able to come in and join us today. So I have arranged for a special replacement guest. We actually have Stephen Lundgren with us today from Patriot Transition Voice. Stephen, are you there?
I am, sir. How are you?
Yeah, doing well. Thank you. I appreciate you doing this on such short notice and the drop of a hat like that.
Well, I put the hat on that you dropped, so I'm good to go.
Hey, perfect. Works out well that way.
And then in solidarity with a sister that is not feeling all that well, I wore camo.
Yeah, you're on the money. That's all we can ask right now.
Right.
The way things are going this past couple of weeks.
But I do love your T-shirt. Treason is the season for
Dangling. Yes. I didn't want to singing because I thought that was just too obvious. So dangling, it's
dangling.
Hey, everybody there in the chat. Rabbit, good to see you, buddy. Hey, 56, good to see you. Stephanie, Brandon, Rapunzel, John, Serenity, MZ, Barbara. Welcome, everybody.
Welcome, everyone. Good to be here.
Takes a little time for everybody to trickle in because I'm not sophisticated and have the stream pre-set up. Amateur hour here, so my apologies. poor Steven's having to step down in the world to come join me.
No. This is a step up. I was looking forward to coming on your show later this, year or next year, and here we are.
Yeah,
sooner than planned.
Yeah. Well, such as it is.
I got to give a shout out to Space Force Spiff. I see the flag behind you.
Yes, Space Force.
That is amazing.
I hope he gets so busy he can't do anything but that.
Yeah.
He does a wonderful job on those. I know that Beer really loves his. I love mine. I hope everybody ends up getting one, but don't buy the cute one. I want that one to be mine. That's get the regular flag, please.
Yeah. Well, you're the third I've been in an interview with that's actually had the flag, that Q flag in the background.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Who's number 3? I'm just curious.
Hive.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
All right. Good company.
Well, the fourth would be actually we interviewed Space Force Spiff himself. So we've actually.
Yeah.
So
that's one of a Marine one, isn't it?
Well, he had his brand new one he just done with the MAGA lion in it, and his Q one.
Okay.
His first one that he made for in memory or in solidarity with General Flynn.
Gotcha. And just to retouch on what's going on, Curious Camel was not able to join us today. She's actually she's recovering from surgery. She had back surgery a couple weeks ago, and apparently she was having a little bit of difficulty with it. So she was not able to join us today, which I'm perfectly okay with. She's got to take care of herself, and we will pray for her. And speaking of another patriot that we need to be praying for is Joel from Quiet Voice. I don't know if any of you guys know about that or not, but he is in the hospital with a lung problem. It's not COVID or pneumonia or anything. It's something they were having to do some surgery on. And I apologize for not remembering specifically what it was, but as far as I know, everything's going okay, but we should still keep them in our thoughts and prayers because they're great patriots as well, and we like to stick together as a community. And they gave me my first shot at the video world, so they're good folks. They're really good folks, and you hate to see good things happen to bad things happen to good people. Boy, I almost messed that one up.
Almost.
Anyway, so Stephen,
Yes, sir.
tell us about you. No, I mean, you're usually the guy doing the interviewing, asking the
I
question.
know this is
You're
weird.
thoughtfully thinking, going, what am I going to say next? What, how can I stump them? But you're on the hot seat now. So,
Oh, see, that's why, I'm used to having Duncan with me, doing the shows, because that doesn't just solely put me on a hot seat, just asking questions either. So, yeah, I don't like hot seats really.
okay, well, we'll just make it a medium warm seat. Tell us
Okay,
what you're comfortable.
perfect.
Tell us about yourself.
Boy, born and raised in Alaska. Spent about a little amount of time out of out of Alaska, in the mid 80s to early 90s, but ventured back up to Alaska. Nothing like home. Um, I lived a, pretty interesting childhood and life. Pretty colorful, not always good. Chose some wrong paths in life, and
I think we've all done that.
a couple years ago, long story short, through all my trials and tribulations, we had our big earthquake here in Anchorage area in the valley, and 7.2 kind of shook me up, shook my wife up some. She's not an earthquake girl, being from Florida, but us Alaskans are used to it. And I don't know, I made a bad choice, and for the umpteenth time I relapsed, drank for a couple weeks, and was willing thoughtfully about giving up, and because I was tired of life, and just so many emptiness, voids within my soul for so long. And, I was trying to fill any way I could. Tried religion, tried even working at a church for 8 years, up until a couple years ago. Tried, of course, alcohol, and then early in my life, tried drugs, but that didn't work out so well. I tried marriages. I was about to lose my new marriage to my wife, and again because of I relapsing. And when things go wrong, I always jumped to the bottle. Or when things went good, I always jumped to the bottle, celebrate. I no rhyme or reason to it. Just always felt empty inside. And after the earthquake, shortly, a few days later, was the George Bush Sr. funeral. I only caught the first part of it. I was on board with Trump. I was on board with the Republican Party. I was born and raised Republican. So I wanted to finish watching the drama of Trump versus the Clintons and Obamas, and so I started searching YouTube for the videos on the finish of it, and I came across these videos about the envelopes, and it didn't make any sense to me. What about the envelopes? They got envelopes to an invitation to something after the funeral or something, and I was a Bushy. I didn't know anything. I knew there was deep state involvement, probably social secret society involvement, and all that kind of involvement in the 9/11, but I didn't connect Bushes to it really. I didn't do research on it. I just watched different things through life and since then. But I started watching these videos on these envelopes and these people connecting dots, and they're running lines from in different facial expressions, especially from the Bushes, and I'm going, well, what would they have gotten? And then in these videos they started to talk about Q, and they started to talk about this Patriot movement on Twitter, and here I'm intoxicated, trying to grasp all this. And within 12 days later, drank my last drink, sobered up, went full on board on Twitter. I had a sports account. I followed sports teams and athletes specifically, and some musicians, but I I had less than 10 followers, about 10, and 2 were family members. And it wasn't really a thing for me to be on Twitter. And next thing I know, I'm off to the races. In part, I sobered up too, because our wedding anniversary was the 20th, and I wanted to be sober for that, for our dinner. And I'll never forget sitting there 3 days sober, telling my wife about Q, about all these envelopes, and we need to stock up on food. We need to be ready for a couple months in case of a dark out and all this kind of stuff. And this all happened the day, ironically, that I sobered up and went out on Twitter as a Q follower was December 17th, 2018. Our wedding anniversary was the 20th of December. And it's been off to the races ever since. And I've developed some amazing friendships and relationships through this movement, and defined who I want to be. I want to be a patriot that supports our Constitution, that I want our republic back. And I identify that we are in a spiritual battle. And it's good versus evil. I have found more of a stronger, closer relationship with God through this movement than I ever did working across the street at the church I did for 8 years. And my marriage is stronger than it was before. It wasn't at first. It was a rocky road because she thought I had joined the cult because my whole language had changed. I was an anti-social media guy, and all of a sudden I became a social media guy. And she was worried about me. She thought I went from one extreme to another. And but after watching me for 9 months, and the love and passion that I had and the relationships that I was building, she came out on Twitter too. And we are in this together. And we fight together in this war. And I've met some amazing patriots like yourself.
Well, thank you. And that's one heck of a story. I had no idea about most of it, to be honest. And the funny thing is I remember following you when you had Stephen Lundgren, AK-47, or I believe that was what your was way back when. And I think I was going as Gunny Snark or something back then too. I had a different name, but it's the same account. Mm-hmm. And I remember following you, and it must have been right about that time, because it was right when I started to get active on Twitter, which was at the end of 2018. I'd had a Twitter account since, I don't know, probably February or March of 2018, but I used it only to follow POTUS. I didn't do it for anything. I was, right. I was off in the chans and doing it that way. But that's interesting. I had no idea that you kind of came in that late to the party. I'm not a criticism, just curious that I had always felt that you were one of the originals. No, you've been there since the beginning.
Right. A lot of people think that. And no, I came in full bore. I decided because of the relapse that I was going to take 30 days off, because I'm always the type of person that goes right back to work to try to fix everything and, repair the relationships, and always, go above and beyond, thinking that if I did more, that people would forgive me faster for just, whatever. And so I decided to take 30 days off. That turned into 60 days. Then it went to 90 days. And I really enveloped myself into research. And by the 90th day, I got into creating threads on Q drops and doing research constantly. And it was off to the races. And it's just been nonstop ever since. It's been I have actually, honestly, have only been off of Twitter one 24-hour period once in the last 2 years.
Really?
Yeah. And that was on a Sunday. I just put the phone. It was Saturday night. I put the phone away, and it wasn't until Monday morning that I actually picked it back up. I just had enough. I needed the break. But
Sometimes you gotta have that
yeah,
distance just to clear your head.
yeah, yeah. But I don't know, man. I'm determined. I'm in this fight till the end, till we've gained our republic back, the way it was meant to be, and the way we should all envision it to be. That we are free, that we have liberty, and we are adults, and we should have discernment for ourselves, and not dictated by government.
No, I agree with that 100%. I think the hardest part about that though is that so many of us are not really gonna know what that is. You know, we can talk about it, we can say it, but do we really know what it is? Do we know how it feels? That's
Right.
new ground for all of us in many ways.
Yeah. In fact, one way is just to for us to learn is to get back to the basics. Learn the Constitution, learn our Bill of Rights, and turn off mainstream media that tells us different,
Yeah.
and take away the Act of 1871.
Is that not already done?
Not officially that we know of in public. It may have been,
It's
but
rumored.
it's only rumor.
Gotcha. Yeah, no, that one's a big the corporation thing is a big deal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If they make DC a state or a city, then we know for a fact that it's taken away. It's no longer a corporation, and that's the big fight. Is I don't care if they do make it a state or a city. I welcome it, because then that means it's no longer a corporation.
Right.
People are fighting it like it's some big deal. Well, yeah, if it becomes a state, yes, it gets a couple representatives, or it gets a representative and 2 senators. Well, they're not. I doubt they're going to make that little of an area a state. They would probably envelop it into a city, into Maryland or one of the neighboring states, but Virginia. But
Yeah.
they're not going to make it. I doubt they would make it a state.
Now, see, I have an even more radical thought process about that, just because I I understand all the occult that has gone into the building
Yeah.
in Washington D.C.
Yeah.
I almost think the city needs to get destroyed in
Yeah.
one way, shape, or form. Force the seat of government to move and eradicate the negativity that the city brings. I mean, you can do everything you want, but you're still going to have the owl design. You're still going to have
Obelisk.
the monolith. You're still going to have the pentagram, and the street layout and stuff like that. I mean, I guess that can be undone, but even all the individual buildings have so much of that iconography in them that it'd be hard to undo it. So,
Right.
I really think that there's going to have to be an event that pretty much raises that city to the ground, and it's going to force a move a seat of government to somewhere else in the country, to a state, and but
I actually kind of thought they were going to allow that to happen in some way with all the riots. They were going to allow some of that destruction to happen, so they purposely had to come in and rebuild it into a modern, less iconic Illuminati, secret society type structures.
yeah, and that still may play out. I mean, we've still got plenty of time for all this to go. I mean, once we get past this election debacle, or should I say movie? I guess.
Yeah. Well, but they say moves and counter moves. So
yeah.
I don't know if we're always watching a movie. I think there's always someone's playing something different, planning something different. And it's hard to say that we're watching a movie, because it's real life consequences constantly.
Very true. Very true. It's just, if you step back and start thinking about the depth of all this, and then you start figuring in the accuracy of the cue drops and how they continue to be accurate into the future. And 3 years past, they're predicting what's going on today. It's kind of mind blowing, really, because it's like,
yeah,
what the,
right. But you've studied a lot of that occult stuff, a lot more than I have.
Yeah, I've dug into a lot of it. I mean, I've spent a lot of years digging into in fact, I'll just come out and say it. At one point I was, digging into it aggressively as I thought that that might be the path.
Hmm.
And, then when I start bumping up into stuff that I recognize as being not the kind of thing I want to be involved with, I backed off of it pretty aggressively. But, I did learn a lot about it. And there's a lot of stuff out there that's all wrapped up in it. One whole shelf of my bookshelf is pretty much reference material on that stuff.
Right.
It's, if that tells you anything.
Yeah, the best reference I find now is on History Channel. I watch a lot of stuff on there.
There is an amazing amount of stuff that's on the History Channel that is exceptionally accurate and exceptionally good.
Yeah.
One of the ones that I really like recommending to people is Hunting Hitler.
Yeah, that was awesome. I watched that whole series when it was first playing.
Yeah. It brought into focus for me a lot of the stuff like the CIA's interest in Central America, Bush's interest in Central America and South America and all that. If you start looking at the history of the CIA and the Bushes down there, it all kind of clicks together. It just all zippers right together, and you go.
Well, yeah, because Bush's own I don't know if people realize this, but Bush's own a huge piece of property in Uruguay.
Yep.
That's considered their bolt hole.
Yep. And who died in Uruguay?
Who?
Hitler.
Oh yeah, that's right.
So,
yep.
It's there's a lot of very interesting things. If you start putting 2 and 2 and 4 and 4 and 10 and 10 together, you're like,
yeah.
How did we not know this? How was this not in front of us this whole time?
Well, the show we did with you, we talked about South America and how ironic it was that how close they picked proximity to Antarctica. In Antarctica, we know of old Nazi bases, submarine bases, ship bases, and all that. So, and then there's a lot of ufology that comes out of South America, from where they think comes from Antarctica. Yep. So the Nazis going to South America geographically was planned perfectly. They went undersea, they went in submarines when they ran from Nazis takeover by U.S. and Allied forces.
Yeah, the rat lines all pretty much led to naval bases that could support a submarine, and they down. And yes, Easternity, the CIA is very wicked. One of the things that one of the biggest corollaries I like to draw is that the war on drugs was not a war on drugs. It was the war on the cartels, so that the CIA actually controlled the drugs. And then you take that one step further and realize that the cartels don't just traffic in drugs, they traffic in anything that makes money, i.e. guns, humans, kids, whatever. So, whatever can make a buck for their little black budget, and they can do their thing in the background without having to have oversight. So,
right.
Yeah, that's the CIA and their tentacles is something that most people have they're not ready for that, I don't think, in a lot of cases. Because that's a really deep rabbit hole, a very deep one.
I got a question for you.
Yeah.
Because Q always put C_A.
Mm-hmm.
It seemed like he was not just referencing, or they just not referencing what we know as CIA. I think he was also referencing CAA, which is the California Hollywood outreach.
Two things, or one thing, two names.
Yep. CAA is oh my gosh, I can't believe I just forgot that, tip of my tongue. Creative Artists Agency in California and Hollywood. And they've got more control over everything going on in Hollywood than just in film. They got it in music.
Really a cult building when you're looking
at the yes, exactly.
Okay. I know which one you're talking about now.
I think they're interlinked. And so I think they underscored purposely so that there's dual meanings to it. because our battle's not against just CIA, it's against Hollywood mainstream media
And that
and the
makes
music
perfect
industry.
sense because when you consider the Mockingbird being the media and
Yeah.
you know,
They have an owl. If you look down on top of the CIA building, it is an owl.
is that what it is?
Mm-hmm.
You're gonna make
I believe so. It's either that or it was an eye of Ra.
I thought it was the Eye of Ra. That's in Los. Is it in Century City?
Yeah.
Images. Oh, here's a file from above, top secret. Perfect. I'm going to screen share this real fast so everybody can see. It's kind of a crappy picture, but you get the idea. You've got the Illuminati triangle here, and you got these other two triangles here. You got another eye up in here, which is more akin to the Eye of Ra. And then you've got kind of this owl shape here. It looks like somebody is kind of sketched in as well. Yeah. So all sorts of, occult references there that, can be very apparent here. Let me zoom that in a little bit. Sorry. But yeah, you definitely have the pyramid with the all-seeing eye right there. No doubt about it.
Even out in the street. Yeah. In the highway area.
Very Eye of Ra-ish here with the organic movement to it here. In fact, that could be the brow up here. Yep. And then you've got obviously your little owl eyeball and beak and body going on over here. And that's funny. Is that a Q I see over there?
Yeah. I just saw that.
You know what this means. Bear with me just a second here, folks. Come on, open.
Nice car.
Oh, thank you. I don't hide my car very well. Let's see. That was 3403, 3032. $34 03 30 32 north and 118 24 52 48 west.
Are those the way lines?
Oh yeah, I've got ley lines on there. Sorry guys, I didn't know. You're seeing the remnants of whatever I was looking at last, which I don't even remember at this point. Oh, it was the monoliths. I was seeing how close they were to ley lines. What? 34, 03, 30, 32. Well, there we go. Okay, so now we can orient this better and see what's going on here.
Oh, it looks like a building got, not so much of.
So yeah, you've got the Eye of Ra kind of going here.
They even got a swirl inside it.
Yeah, they even got the little galaxy swirl. But yeah, that's definitely Eye of Ra symbology there. You got the all-seeing eye here. You got your little owl eyes here.
I wonder what they're building. In this picture, it looks like they're building something across the street. How current is this image?
This image is from... Well, that's 2020, so... Oh. Wow. That's different.
Yeah.
Because these aren't there in that image.
They got towers going up.
Yeah. Okay, this is pre-tower. Okay, so actually the towers are kind of there. It's just from the angle of the satellite, you don't see it as well. So that's one of the towers. Okay, you can see the shadows here. Those are the towers.
Hmm.
And there's a tower there. So,
And the two towers
and
behind
these
that.
two right here are what are being built that show up so well in the next one there. Slightly different angularity, which really shows you the height of these buildings.
Yeah.
So, anyway, see, we couldn't avoid not going to maps at some point.
No, you asked in pre-show, and I said, I don't think we need maps.
Yeah, I'm like, I don't think that.
You never know where a show can go. We're live.
We can do this. Let's do it. Anyway, let's see here. And yes, Hollywood is definitely a propaganda arm. TV shooting out at frequency. Possibly. I don't know. Yeah, I'm sure they do. Is it planned? After everything I've learned, I can't say no, it's not planned, because it seems like everything is planned. But I don't know. I kind of hate to go there. AMC was purchased by Chinese CCP. Yeah, the Chinese have been making huge inroads in Hollywood for probably about 10 years now.
Mm-hmm.
It's amazing how much cooperation and or intermixing has been going on there. We're starting to see some big Chinese stars show up in things. Perfect example is I was rewatching The Mandalorian yesterday, and the third or fifth episode, I think it's called The Gunslinger, and it's got Michelle Yeoh in it. Well, if any of you know Chinese movies, you'll know who Michelle Yeoh is. I mean, she's one of the kick-ass female martial artists, and here she is showing up in a Star Wars movie. So I mean, they're starting. It's not just Jackie Chan or Johnny Yen or even going back to Bruce Lee, but I mean, there's a lot of crossover going on. Hey, Storm. Hey, Spiff. Good to see you, buddy. Let's see. I've got a bunch of people in here. Hey, Stacy. Hey, VL. Bunch of people come in.
Hey, I see my wife jumped in here.
Who's your wife?
Marcy.
Hi, Marcy.
Purple Punisher.
Purple Punisher. Nice to see you.
Hey, Spiff, you like your flag in the background there? Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he was actually, I don't remember if I actually had him. I think we did have him on last one. I kind of just had an open Zoom, and we just had a bunch of people in here, and he was in here too. It was kind of cool.
Yeah.
It's fun to do that every once in a while. Just throw everybody in there and let everybody talk, and people who want in come in, and people who don't want to be in can stay in the chat.
Yeah, I got late to the game.
Yeah, that's right. You came in just as I was shutting it down. Let's see here. So, what about our new? Yeah, we ambushed you. Yeah, you hated it. I could tell. What do you think about the Georgia debacle, or shall I say,
oh man,
careful unveiling of all the corruption in Georgia, so that everybody, including normies, understand what's going on down there and how bad it is?
Well, it's showing perfectly how just deep rooted a deep state is in Georgia. I didn't realize it until this election. I heard about it, in 2018, but I thought the whole Stacey Abrams thing was just part of the course of just Democrats' big push to take over that state. I didn't realize just how fraudulent probably that vote was back then, and it got nixed at the end before they could recount and do a extended count and get more fraudulent votes in. And that's what she was fighting all along for these last 2 years. This proves that not only in Georgia, but Michigan, Pennsylvania, Arizona, Nevada, Wisconsin, probably Minnesota. And we're going to find out about a bunch of other states, especially California, just how deep rooted they were in fraudulent elections, and I'm loving it. I hate how long it's taking, but I love it.
Yeah, no, I agree. It's you know, we were talking about this before we got on the air, but Washington, where I am, has been. I honestly think we were the proving ground for a lot of the voting fraud. Storms in Washington as well, and she's like, Washington. Our first venture with that was back in 2004, I believe, when we had, and I don't know if any of you remember this because I think it made national news. We had the Christine Gregoire and Dino Rossi run a governor race, and it was close enough to be recounted, and they recounted it 3 times, and Rossi won the first. He won the original. He won the first recount. He won the second recount, but his margin kept falling. The third recount, the Democrat got up, won, and Rossi said, "Wait a minute, I want another recount." And they said, "Nope, sorry, we're done. 3's the max."
Really?
Yeah, and she only won like by 100 votes or something. It was a ridiculous margin. It was nothing, and they just, and ever since then, I've just not even bothered, just because, well, if it's that fixed and that obvious, there's no point in me participating.
Right.
And
Oregon's going to be another one.
Oregon, yeah.
Colorado, I think, is going to be one. I honestly think that every state was red. My personal opinion, but
I think it's a possibility.
But close enough to the point where at least a couple of those states were sure darn purple, not friggin' blue.
Yeah, I agree. Although I have to wonder, because I literally, where I'm sitting right now, I've got a house right there, I've got a house right there, and I got a house over here. Mm-hmm. The 3 closest houses to me, every one of them had a Biden sign.
How brave were you?
Not that brave. I've got four Antifa enclaves within 10 miles of me. No way.
Oh.
And just down the street, I got somebody that was obviously involved in some of the BLM stuff, because they would come home with BLM sayings written on their car. So,
yeah, you like your car.
I like my stuff. I like my house.
Yeah.
I'll fight quietly.
Understandable.
And yes, I'm pretty sure that Culp won. There's no way Inslee won. Everybody hates him so much. So
yeah, I mean, he's screwing your state, both parties. So I don't understand. Even like Como, he's screwing your state, both parties, all parties. Newsom screwing your state, all parties. There's no way these guys are winning without fraud involved.
Yeah, and I think that's becoming more apparent now that we realize, wait a minute, it is happening. Then we can go, okay, so that explains it. I'm not insane. Everybody else isn't insane. It's just not real.
The sad part is that not only are we going to find out about the Democrats, we're going to find out about how much the rhinos have been paying to get their seats.
And I think we're going to find there's been more of those than we think too.
Yeah. Yeah. So. I think, in all honesty, for years, they would go into a room and come out of the room. They'd go into a room basically independent in their mind. They'd come out of the room with the title, "You're Republican or Democrat. This is what you're running, and we're going to get you in office."
Before they start getting into the politics in general. Yeah, very possibly.
Some of them anyway, especially the family-born ones. The
Bing,
Cabal bloodline
blue,
ones.
Bing, you're red. Bing, you're blue. Bing.
Yep. And they're all the same. They're all, whether they have that D or an R, they're still the same.
Yeah, and that's been very obvious. It's been 2 sides of the same coin. I mean, that's been, I think, recognized by a lot of people for a long time now.
Yeah.
So, it's I don't know. It's just the conclusion and finish to this cannot come soon enough. But I understand that it's got to go as long as it needs to go to do what it needs to accomplish. So
it'd be interesting, since you bring up Georgia, how's the next election? This next election for the 2 senators, how that's going to go.
Well, I kind of agree. We were talking about this a little bit. I kind of agree with what Lynn Wood is saying about you can't utilize the system in place because it's been proven to be fraudulent.
Yeah.
So you're going to have to utilize a different system, but they're not going to utilize a different system. So how can you trust the outcome? Because you know that the outcome is going to be fraudulent.
Right.
So it's like,
so even if they go to a hand count, but they only hire Democrats and liberals to do the counting, how is that fair? So
yeah, it's not.
And then they keep, the Republicans 10 to 20 feet away from viewing the signatures or the vote or the ballot themselves. So there's a lot that has to be worked out in Georgia.
Yeah, Georgia's got a lot of issues, and they need to get them figured out before they can hold a reasonable election. It just doesn't.
Well, short amount of time. Tuesday, the mail-in balloting or pre-balloting starts.
Wow.
So hopefully the 7th, something big happens.
Well,
tomorrow.
Something got posted yesterday by he's a constitutional guy who was saying that there's nothing written in stone about the dates that the electors have to be validated. That's just
really?
It's just a convention. It has only been a convention since the 40s. There's actually the only date that is held to a standard in the Constitution is Inauguration Day, the 20th of January. Everything else is a convention or a
electoral convention.
Yeah, well, meaning I don't mean it that way. I mean a convention meaning it's been what's been done before, so we'll just keep doing it.
Oh.
There's no rule about it. It's just, okay, it's understood to be the rule, but it's not really a rule. So I think that's going to get shaken up a little bit too.
I'll have to research that.
Yeah, Trump is definitely not above doing what
because the 14th's coming fast. That's when they're saying it's due.
Yeah, I know. It's the last day I'll be in my 40s.
Last day in your 40s, huh?
Yeah.
Welcome to 50hood. I'm 54.
Yeah, coming up soon.
Yeah.
But anyway. And
yeah, and then, boy, did you see the rally last night with Loeffler and Perdue there?
I honestly did not get a chance to watch the rally, so.
Oh man, they looked uncomfortable for the few minutes they were up there.
Really?
Especially Loeffler. She did not look very comfortable. The way she presented her little short speech was sketchy. It just seemed weird. And Perdue just seemed like he wanted to get off that stage faster than he got on that stage.
No.
And shortly after that, they got heckled by the crowd, fight for Trump, fight for Trump. And that was one of the best moments of the rally that I saw last night.
As far as I'm concerned, Loeffler's dirty, but we've got to have an R in that seat, whether it's an R for Rhino or R for Republican or R for Trump.
Yeah, well, if they get voted in, they still can get unseated, taken out, or whatever for if there is any kind of crimes they've committed in the past, and a replacement Republican could get put in place.
Yeah, in this case, it really is the lesser of two evils because the two Democrats are just psychotic.
Yeah, one is especially the preacher friend of the preacher or whatever.
Jeremiah Wright wannabe. Yeah, he's really bad. And yes, Biff, you are now been made a mod, so try to act appropriately.
Nice. Welcome to he likes being moderator.
Oh, does he?
I see him on Bard's show all the time.
Yeah, I know. That's why I just made him one because I know he's always, I got to go moderate for Bard. All right, well, fine. All right. Moderate for me while you're here.
I know. I never get to see him anymore because he's too busy moderating during our show. That's a bummer about Bard's and our show is that it's the exact same time.
Oh, are you guys on the same time every day?
Yeah.
Oh, geez. That does suck. Because you're both.
I mean, I get to catch his other shows, or if we don't have a show. But right now we're running 5 shows a week because we're in a fight for our lives. And so we just want to get as much out there as we can for over the at least till electoral, at least till inauguration. So
Yeah, I don't know. I want to think that a lot of stuff's going to settle down after the inauguration, but I have this sneaking suspicion that it's just going to be a different sort of pressure cooker that we're going to be involved with after the inauguration.
yeah,
we're going to move to the next stage, and it's just going to be this whole thing.
swearing in Trump doesn't make it all go away. That's happened the last 4 years. It's a new beginning of another 4 years of exposure and
oh Jesus,
fighting for our republic. Still,
are we looking at 5, 4, 5, and 6 and 7 year deltas on Q?
could be.
Oh man.
Another thing that's interesting about Georgia was the car accident.
Yes.
Now, Loeffler could have been uneasy being up there last night because, of course, the day before her staffer was killed in a car wreck, suspiciously.
Yep.
What's most suspicious about that is the extent of the explosion of 3 cars. I mean, I've never seen a car wreck that exploded like that. The only
time I've seen it is a Pinot's been involved, and that's been since the 70s. So I mean, that's modern automotive engineering.
No, and then it turns out that Loeffler's staffer is dating Kemp's daughter.
Yeah,
Governor Kemp. So was there a message sent to those two to keep fighting, to keep the fraud going?
Yeah, and what would be the odds of all that?
I don't know. In this, it's 2020, right?
Yeah.
Anything can happen in 2020.
And again, there's something that I had seen, and I could have swore it was Millops that posted it. And I see so much and I don't save it. I just kind of
right. I do the same.
But I'm pretty sure that there were some signal tracer birds up in the air above the wreck at the time that it happened. So if there was any sort of remote control and or radio signal or anything, or cell phone signal, like a detonation signal or anything like that, that was that happened, they'll have gotten it. So basically they have the evidence that they need to be able to trace it backwards. So maybe that's why some of these people in Georgia are so nervous, not just because they were caught on tape in Pennsylvania or whatever, but because they know that they've been caught because it was too obvious. I mean, that's about as bad as the cars that are, in California and the fires that are melting, with the tree standing right next to them. It doesn't add up.
No, because that was molten metal.
Yep. And gasoline is not going to get there. I know, I've played with it a lot.
Yeah.
I will say I did make a metal barrel pretty weak one time with some really fresh pine, but that took some work. Took some creative venting of the barrel and stacking it up on a rock, and good air flow through it.
And that took time.
Yeah.
A lot of time.
That was an hour or two worth of, full furnace blast going on. But
yeah, there's just, I don't know. The pictures I saw, the explosion, the fire, the depth of the fire, and how intense it was, it just didn't seem natural to me.
If you've ever seen a car fire, they're usually more of a yellowish flame. The flame that I saw was awful orange red, which is kind of unusual as well. It tells me that something was burning that's not, normally present in an automotive fire. So,
yeah.
But anyway, and then have we said anything about the 2 senators being in Pennsylvania?
No. So I do find that interesting. Now, in Georgia, during the testimonies, there was a senator, two senators, state senators, really berating witnesses and doing anything and everything that they could to downplay or divert attention from possible fraud to this is all made up. You guys are conspiracy theorists bullshit. Throughout throughout that day. And then all of a sudden we're seeing videos and pictures of them at ballot counting stations. Now, originally I thought that they were in Georgia at ballot counting stations, which is illegal for senators or for Congress people to be counting ballots. But it turns out possibly that they weren't in Georgia counting ballots. They were in Pennsylvania help count ballots. Count. And I put count in quotations. Is that what you saw?
That's exactly what I saw. And I'll use the word inflate ballots.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, that's exactly what I saw. And there's no doubt in my mind that the one was Parent. And I'm pretty sure that the other one is that Jen Johnson, I think her name.
Yeah, Jen.
I kind of grabbed a couple screenshots of her and was doing some quick comparison. And that other gal does look a lot like Jen Johnson. It just, man, I mean, the implications are just astounding. I mean, number one, voter fraud in any way, shape, or form is automatically a federal hit.
Mm-hmm.
You take it across state lines, boom. I mean, that's what was it I said? Would you prefer sparky, stretchy, pricky, or bangy? Those are going to be your four choices. When they get convicted of that stuff, it's going to be which way do you want to go? And this will be stretchy right here.
Yeah.
So I mean, there's no defense against it. I mean, that's straight up treason as far as I'm concerned. So
I love the fact that firing squads are available now, legally.
Yeah, we're back.
And dangling on Christmas trees.
Yep, dangling on Christmas trees. It's the season for it. But if you think about it, I mean, we've looked at the. Have you actually sat down and done the numbers, the math of the stuff that Q's told us? You know, the 4 to 6% unrecoverable is something like 21 million people. And if you figure that a good portion of those are good, I mean, even if we just take the indictments and do the math on the indictments, I mean, there's what, 215 or 20,000 sealed indictments. You know, you multiply that times 20. I mean, that's a whole shit ton of people.
Yeah.
But all of a sudden, you start thinking, okay, well, we know we can't house. I mean, you and I, and again, we were discussing this earlier, how many places there are. What are they going to be able to hold? 10,000 max at each? Maybe.
Yeah, there's no way they're going to be able to hold all these human beings.
No. So, I mean, a lot of deals are going to be made, I understand, but there's still going to be a lot of executions going on. So they're literally going to have to be able to cycle through them. And I think that's one of the reasons why they brought these other methods into place, is because they'll be able to just bang, bang. You know, I mean, I hate to minimize it that way, but I mean, I think that they're going to almost have to production line it because there's going to be so much of it that has to happen. So, and then somebody asks about Gina Haspel. What are your thoughts there?
You know, this is my thought. If Pompeo is as patriotic as a lot of us believe, there's a reason he and Donald Trump picked Gina Haspel to be in charge of CIA. Gina knows where all the bodies are buried, especially being in charge at London office. She wore a white hat dress, and I still hold that to today as a signal. Is she doing something? Well, we may never know. We may never know what they're doing at CIA to dismantle the CIA from the inside out. Is she the spark plug that's inside the CIA dismantling it? Could be. She got placed there and still there for a reason. Is she dead? I don't know. Was she injured in that raid? Why would she be? She's the director of CIA. Why would she be involved in a raid in Germany?
Why would she be at the CIA at the computer farm or whatever it was?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the one question that has never been answered to my satisfaction in this whole thing is why would she be there?
Yeah. And the site that gave out that information is not a, a vetable site. So who knows? I don't live through theories so much. I wait for the facts. If there's one thing John Solomon's taught me through following him is you never get ahead of the facts. And one things that I do is I wait, especially those 48 hours after a story starts breaking, for something to back it up. And nothing's backed up that story at all.
Was that a single source?
It started out as a single source site, and then it splintered out into other sites, and then some anons took it on and started saying it, and it just became, an unvettable still to this day. We don't have any proof.
I thought there was multiple sources because I thought that that had gotten kind of thrown out there by one of the generals.
General that she was shot and killed in that raid.
Involved, but I could be misremembering that, so don't quote me on that.
I haven't heard that.
Go back and look. I thought it was McInerney. No, he just commented on the raid. He didn't say anything about Haspel. So,
but my feeling on her is that she has all the dirt on Brennan. She worked under Brennan, so she knows everything about Brennan. Did she get put in that place to be the go-to person to help dismantle the CIA is a huge question mark for me. I think so. Is she playing out her role to lessen her crime, maybe of the past? I don't know. She was in charge of supposedly the black site that interrogated 9/11 or Iraqis.
Mm-hmm.
She was in charge of the black ops site that did a lot of interrogation during Bush.
Okay. Well, let me play devil's advocate here for you for a second on some of that thought process, and just something that occurred to me. And I'm not trying to put you on the spot, but just something that you know how that goes with me. If Obama pardoned all these folks and they're clean up till that date, so what, January 19th of 2016, would Gina Haspel's knowledge of his past crimes be of any benefit? Because the past crimes are inadmissible.
No, not the past crimes, but she would be one. Well, do we know that all of them got pardoned for sure?
No, we don't.
And then
we don't know for sure who did or who didn't. I mean, there's some assumptions being made there, I'll admit.
But it goes to show, again, that I think still to this day why it's taken so long, there wasn't immediate arrest, that some did get pardoned and they needed to commit new crimes.
Right.
And so they allowed them to be out in the streets, in public, and committing new crimes.
They were given rope to pull themselves out or to hang themselves,
and they hung themselves. I mean,
you have chosen the latter. That's for sure.
I don't know. I honestly think Pompeo's no idiot, and he would have had played a huge role in who would be replacing him at the CIA. There's a reason why she's there,
but is she been put there to fail as well? Because we've seen Trump do that before. Esther, You know, I mean, he's placed questionable people in pretty important positions before, just to later remove them because they didn't do the job he needed, or you know, optically they did what they needed to do and he's moving them along or whatever. But you know, sometimes I think Trump is also giving them the rope, as you're saying, you know, giving them the opportunity to pull themselves out or to make that news.
Yeah.
And, you know, so it's an interesting thing. Will we ever know? Hard to say. It'll be interesting as we watch, you know, in time and see who, you know, if there's an interim CIA director in place or anything. I do find it ironic that there were so many moves in the Pentagon,
Yep.
and at the top of the chain of command, the DoD, at the same time. Is it possible that maybe the CIA was completely and totally gutted at that point? Because all the black ops just immediately went to Ezra Cohen Watnick. All that stuff is now under his umbrella. So that completely removed the black ops side of the CIA from the CIA and put it under the DoD.
DoD and NSA.
Yep. So it's the timing of all of that is just, it just was bang, 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 you know. So.
And then Ratcliffe, where he's at the DNI, I mean, everyone's in place. I think everyone's in place and getting put in place for the long haul for the next 4 years.
Yeah, I definitely agree that there's been the big moves. You know, Watnick was the big one. I mean, he's the one that everybody's kind of been watching. When that chess piece gets put in place, you know that things are happening because we knew he was one of the end game pieces.
And Sasha, was Patel?
Yeah, Patel was the other one. Yeah.
Yeah.
They both were names that we were told to watch way early on, back in 2018, I think. And now, boom, here they are. So, and again, there's that, you know, future proves past thing, and Q being accurate 2 years later. So,
but I could guarantee you, this is what I think. I mean, my personal opinion is when CIA is officially dismantled, it will be public, because there's nothing more than Trump wanted, nothing more that John Kennedy wanted. And Trump, if he emulates and looks up to anyone, it would have been John F. Kennedy and his son, Junior, and he would do that in remembrance of them. He would bring it out how they've destroyed the CIA.
I just had an interesting thought. So, didn't John F. Kennedy say that he was going to splinter the CIA into 1,000 splinters?
Yes.
Now, didn't a later head of the CIA talk about 1,000 points of light?
Yeah, that was Bush Sr.
So would that not be perhaps two sides of the same coin?
The same exact coin, but not working not working with each other.
Right.
I mean, obviously it was opposite ends. I mean, 1,000 points of lights was a promise to keep the CIA going against John F. Kennedy's vow to destroy him and splinter him in 1,000 pieces. And then John F. Kennedy Jr. brought out his magazine and named it George, and notifying George Sr. that he knows who killed his dad.
Yep. There are so many layers to this damn onion. Yeah. I mean, I'm sorry. Every time you peel one back, there's 42 more that you got to go through.
Yeah. I love onions too.
17 more. Anyway.
I love that number. Yes. You see it on the tail. I mean, that was front and center last night. The tail of the, I think it was Air Force 2 that he was actually flying on, the smaller jet, the smaller plane, but it's 90017 is the tail number.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So even now, with the 17 on the end, you automatically think 17Q, but 9 + 1 + 7 = 17. So, 17. So you get it a couple different ways, the vision of 17.
Okay, this presents an interesting thought process. Air Force 2 is usually the vice president's plane.
Mm-hmm. Or Trump flies it, when it's going into shorter runways and or just real short flights.
Just, I could imagine them putting it right in front of us like that and us not catching it.
Mm-hmm. I did a picture of it last night on Twitter.
So, and yes, Donning, that's exactly what I was getting at, was Bush was inverting what JFK said.
Yeah.
He was taking it and turning it around into something the opposite of what it was. So, but anyway, yeah, but the thing I'm getting on the plane thing is that if the tail number on Air Force Two, which is typically Vice President's plane, is 17, are they telling us who 17 really is?
No. It wouldn't be Pence, that's for sure.
No, I think probably not. But although they say you'll be surprised. Anyway. Well, I think we're going to keep this one short today because I know Steve doesn't like real long ones. So,
that's up to you, man. I could go. It's up to you.
Marathon, we can do it.
Is there?
Well, there's tons of questions going on here.
Sure.
And opinions too.
I like opinions. That's why I always throw it, in my opinion. I always throw out IMO when it's my opinion. And that was another thing when I used to do my Q threads is I would try to keep opinion out of them, because throwing out theories and timelines and all that, it just leads people wrong most 90% of the time, especially on timelines. You can never put a timeline on a Q drop.
I thought I had one figured out once, and yeah, that was enough to cure me of that. You're never going to get a timeline right, because if we could figure it out, that means they could figure it out, and they're never going to put that timeline out there to be figured out. So it's just all the timeline stuff is pure misdirect. Date fagging is we call it on the chans.
Yeah.
And like you, I try to keep opinions separate. I'll say in my opinion, or I think, or stuff like that, to indicate that I don't have facts. This is Muncie keeps wanting me to do a 5-hour stream. They ain't happening. Sorry, not this week.
Yeah, you would definitely have to bring in some help on that one.
Yeah. I just got to be a potty break and a food break, and I'm a fat guy. What do I gotta say? Let's see here. What do we got? CIA framed Nixon. He shared the attacks with Trump's father. Remembers that's why Trump knows the deep state. Well, let's throw something really off the wall out there, because that brought something to mind. Plus Ultra. What do you know about it? Have you studied it all?
MK Ultra?
No, Plus Ultra.
No, I haven't studied Plus Ultra.
Ooh, Plus Ultra is the supposed secret society that Trump is part of.
Oh, I haven't heard anything about that.
Here. I don't know that I have anything in my files because I haven't really dug on it hard yet. I see they've named some stuff Plus Ultra to direct away from it. There is a picture of Trump sitting in front of a bunch of tiles in one of his hotels that he's renting.
I remember the tile picture.
If you zoom in on it, it says Plus Ultra on the tiles.
I do remember that now. I do remember that picture.
The Plus Ultra actually was traced back to a secret society his dad was in, and his uncle. They're kind of like they're the white hat secret society, as it were. And the connections of his dad or his uncle in with Tesla and those things, it just is made for some good fodder. But I mean, nobody has any info on it at all, other than some speculation and info out of video games and stuff like that. That where stuff has been created. So it's just one of those things where I don't know if there's enough to really form any real opinion. But it's kind of fun to just throw out there and see what see the kind of thought processes that are involved.
Do I think that there's the possibility? I do think, just like in yin and yang and opposites, and there's two versions of everything. Basically, if there's bad secret societies, there's got to be good ones that are fighting.
Yep. There's balance.
I have no problem in being a part of a good secret society that's fighting for not just our country but our world, because I can imagine if it's a society like that, it's international. I mean, they've got some leaders from around the world.
Well, technically, aren't we already part of one?
Yeah.
So is that right?
I strongly believe in the ability for him to be in one, because how else is he gonna collaborate this whole plan?
So how far back do you think he goes in the plan?
Farther than we think, or farther than anyone thought, just coming down the escalator 2016. I think some of those talks he was having with Junior and Junior's magazine, and some of the things I've heard him say in interviews since and before, even in the 90s, lead me to believe that he's had thoughts, at least plans, on dismantling some of what we're seeing happen right now.
Yeah.
To the full extent, I don't know.
I think he goes back even perhaps into his ROTC days, and maybe not long after, because it seems like his whole arc has been nothing but a preparation for this moment.
Yeah, to be the spearhead in that picture image of him at his military prep school.
Yeah.
What are the odds of that?
Exactly. I mean, if you piece it all together and you look back at it, every single point in his arc, and if you go back and listen to his old interviews, even going back into the 80s, he's saying the same thing back in the 80s that he's saying today.
Yeah.
So his words haven't changed any. And
you look at his timeline on Twitter.
Yeah.
Some of the things he said in Twitter in 2012, 13, 14 are true now.
Yep.
And
yeah. Especially the Obama birth certificate stuff.
Yeah.
I remember that coming out, and I was like, yeah.
And how can you not be John Trump's nephew and not know some of the things that he gathered up from Tesla?
And then there's the Nixon connection as well.
Nixon. And how, of all the other presidents that he met, he just happened to be in the White House to meet Ronald Reagan.
Yep. Who just happens to be the third non-controlled president.
I think he got controlled at the end when he got shot.
Yeah, after Hinckley, he was controlled. He definitely got throttled. I think at that point, that's when Senior basically was able to assume control.
He wasn't supposed to live. He was supposed to be dead, and Senior was supposed to be president, and that was the plan. And CIA carried that out under Bush Senior, or a black op somehow.
Oh no, it had to be Bush, because I mean Hinckley was a buddy of Junior. I mean, it's not. I mean, he used to hang out at the Bush's house in Texas. So I mean,
yeah, I meant at black op that Senior controlled.
Oh, gotcha. Yeah, no, Senior's. I think out of everybody that has been in the past 100 years, Hillary Clinton's really, really evil.
Mm-hmm.
She's right up there, but I think Bush Senior probably takes the cake.
He had me fooled.
Yeah, because not only was he an evil bastard who basically tried to kill two presidents, or was definitely involved in at least two assassination attempts that we know of, being JFK and Reagan. he's what formed the whole war on drugs and got the cartels where they are and got the human trafficking going, got the drug and gun running stuff going. I mean, if you start looking at all of his things that he did, he's just the epitome of evil. I mean,
he
horrid.
Under his administration is when CIA brought in drugs into the not suburbs, but
Inner
cities down in especially California is where it really started. But they were smuggling the drugs, the cocaine across the border under Bush Sr. CIA. So he was still in control.
Yeah, gives you a whole new perspective on Oliver North too, doesn't it?
Yeah, and he was a high Mason too.
Ollie,
very high Mason. I think he was as high as you could go. He was a 33rd, right?
Oliver?
No. Bush.
Oh, okay.
Senior.
Yeah, no, I think you're right. I think he was pretty much as high as you can go. And I think the only reason he might have been the guy, we don't know the hierarchy of the Masons that well, or at least I don't. So,
but it is interesting they bought that bullhole down in Uruguay to get away, and they're not too far from that. The closest kind of inner little city or town had a Uruguay military base close to their bolt hole, and it was some kind of large. It was over 100,000 acres, I believe.
Do you remember the name of the city that Hitler died in Uruguay?
No, I don't.
I'm gonna have to go back and look at that because I want to see what the proximity is between the Bush's place and that city.
Uruguay. You look up city, I'll look up Bush's bolt hole.
Oh, you're gonna make me do the hard one. Thanks.
Oh, it wasn't Uruguay. It was Paraguay.
Well, 6 one half does the other.
400. Oh,
they're right next to each other.
300,000 acres in Paraguay.
Okay.
Sorry, everyone. I've been saying Uruguay this whole show.
Mato Grosso do Sul. Do you have any sort of map or anything on where that compound is? The Bush compound?
Not that I can screen share. It would be on my phone. It is. I could tell you where it's at.
Wait, this is San Brazil. Hang on.
It was by a wastewaters plant too. Wastewaters pop. Had its own water system.
Really?
Yeah, he could basically be holed up for a world attack, nuclear attack. He had his own private military, Paraguay military, and his own water filtration system.
It doesn't surprise me. That's Mengele. I don't want Mengele.
Anyway, maybe we're chasing a rabbit.
Yeah, anyway. I'll put that together later. But
yeah, that'd be interesting. I'll send you information I got, and maybe you could do a show on it.
I tell you, I've been piecing together a big thread of stuff about that, and one day it'll all fall together. It's kind of there with the Khazaria thread and the big history threads of all the background behind this, which is kind of what I enjoy. That's kind of my thing. Is the current stuff is cool, but it's going to play out as it's going to play out, and I have little to no control over it. And you know, if you start playing on that cutting edge, then all of a sudden the sensors and the axe comes to your direction. So if I stay back in the history, they kind of tend to ignore me. They might silence me a little bit, but they don't ban me. So
back to kind of, current events, one thing I'm starting to really think is this final act of this election is this fully exposes not only Democrats and rhinos, but it exposes deep state to the world. And not just the fraudulent voting that's been going on in the US. This is actually going to start exposing, and has already started exposing, fraudulent voting in other countries. And what a way to wake up the world.
Yeah. And honestly, it's going to be, like you say, it's just going to be a wake-up call for everybody, because I mean, how many leaders across the world aren't legit?
Right. Yeah.
I mean,
how many have used these Dominion
most of them
systems and Smartmatic?
Yeah. Did you see that bus full of voting stuff that got caught in Nevada?
Yeah. Was that Nevada or Arizona?
Maybe it was Arizona. It was talking about had Nevada plates or something. That's right. But I mean, is it heading back to Venezuela? Maybe.
Definitely somewhere to be destroyed, probably, because whoever was operating it ran when the bus broke down. So they left hastily to be not caught up with a bunch of fraudulent machines that they were taken to be destroyed.
Well, and that bus just had the feel of something south of the border too, because there was like plywood nailed on the top of it, like you'd have a bunch of people riding up there, a bunch of packages or bags up there or something, like, it's an old converted school bus. So it just didn't have a domestic feel to it. Let's put it that way.
So wait till these countries like Spain and Germany and Italy and Brazil and of course these communists, but the communists will never find out unless they overthrow their leaders, like in Venezuela and Cuba. But these voting machines have been used, and their leaders were not the leaders they voted for.
Yeah. I mean, how often have we gone to the polls and pulled the lever and just shook our heads and gone, well, half the world's crazy anyway, so it doesn't matter what I do, but it is what it is.
Right.
Now all of a sudden we're finding out that, oh, we weren't insane. It was stacked, So
maybe even Macron didn't win, because how many people wanted Macron in France this last election they had? And you remember the lady's name that ran against him that was so close, but she lost?
Marine Le Pen or whatever.
Le Pen. And what does Le Pen stand for? Follow the pen.
Yeah. Oh. Gee.
I think she won. I think Macron lost. And I think that's why the ones that are coming out so adamantly right now about COVID lockdowns is because they're about to get exposed internationally too on voter fraud.
Yep.
Because UK's just locked down for 2 weeks to 2 months or something. France locked down again. Spain locked down again. Italy's locked down again. All these fraudulent countries are trying to lock down their citizens before it's made public that they participated in lying and cheating their way to their positions of power.
Rabbit leader, there's your answer for Boris right there.
Yeah.
I mean, some of the stuff I sent you over the past couple of weeks has kind of led us that way, but what Steve just said about the lockdown of England is a pretty good indication of where that's going to fall. So,
especially since, why hasn't Brexit happened? That's what they elected the guy for, right? Yep. And why was Nigel never elected? So now we are finding out Boris may have never been elected. Nigel should have been elected, but Boris, they cheated, because now we're seeing all these images of him with the cabal
Yeah,
and
that one gal who is
not Rockefeller, the other R,
Rothschild.
Rothschild,
Yeah.
the Rothschilds.
So
Yeah, I don't know. Game changers are about to happen. I just encourage everybody to hold on tight, hold the line, and stay strong. Don't get down. There's reasons for dates. 8th is a big date. And then the 14th is a big date that's coming up. And we'll see what happens.
those both, and like I was saying earlier, those both may be more fluid than we think.
Mm-hmm.
So, and
I'm not going to promise anything coming out because I've been burned too many times on promising timelines and dates. But obviously, the 14th has a date on it that electoral colleges do.
I believe that was a 30 days deal too. It was right in that area. Something 28 or 30 days lined up with that as well. And I can't remember what it was exactly, but the 14th had a couple things pointing at it. But typically, whenever that's happened, it's been a dud, and it's been 3 days after that something happens. So,
yeah.
Vaccine push. I honestly think that Trump's whole thing behind the vaccine push is nothing more than to get eyes on.
Yeah.
He will not ever mandate vaccinations. And if he does, it's not what we think it is.
Right. And even if it is some type of liquid vaccine, also remember that HCQ is considered a vaccine by definition. So even if whatever's being developed, because he's also exposing deep state pharma, cabal pharma. So if they create a vaccine that is hazardous to human health, like it always has been, some good. Obviously, in the past, we had some issues that needed, a remedy. And I'm old enough to remember the little 3-digit thing that I got still on my arm from when I was a kid. But I've only been vaccinated by that shot since a kid. And I've stopped taking flu shots since the 90s. But I doubt very seriously that our President Trump, that we have so much faith in, is going to allow a vaccine that's hazardous to health, human health, to be released on us. He's allowing the cabal pharma to expose himself further, allowing Gates to expose himself further, allowing the globalist agenda to be exposed further. And he's already stated several times that the vaccine is voluntary. It's not mandated, but he's not going to allow a hazardous vaccine.
Yeah, I agree.
In my opinion,
it's not going to happen that way at all. It's optics, and it's a game. And I honestly think that the vaccination is code for something else completely and totally.
So what did you think about the the 3 presidents and the VP saying they're publicly going to take the vaccine? Are they taking just water?
Or sodium pentothal and a couple other things.
Hopefully.
Hopefully
a couple other things.
Yeah, the couple other things are the doozies. I'm not sure about that one. I think that they're just playing their part. I think that they're being told what to do, and they're doing what they've got to do.
Yeah. I still think doppelgangers exist too. So I'm not sure even those are the real ones walking around. They're just lookalikes.
Hey, Trinity, good to see you. Bacon, to address your concern specifically, I honestly don't see Trump letting soldiers get vaccinated with something that is potentially harmful. I just don't see him going there.
He loves soldiers.
He loves the U.S. military and the soldiers.
General Flynn even said it.
So I mean, I understand that it's something that you're worried about, and that is right there staring you in the face soon. But I think if you're going to get a vaccine, it's not going to be what you think it is. It's going to be something that's either inert or a positive. There's no way that Trump is going to allow that to hit the military, because right now the military is exactly what we need and where we need them. He's not going to weaken the one thing that's keeping everything off of his neck.
Right.
And that's
Trump. Also know Trump took a cure.
Yeah.
And it had nothing in it that was a vaccine. He took a cure. So the cure's there. HCQ is a cure, and whatever Regeneron is a cure, or whatever else he took, but he didn't take a vaccine. So why would he push something that we don't need? Because the cure's already there, and he's offering it for free to anybody in the hospital.
Yeah. So I mean, I understand your trepidation and your worry, but you got to trust your commander in chief. He's not gonna weaken his strongest thing right now, and the military is really what's doing the job. There's a reason that the military is where they are, and he reveres them. And we all do. I mean, we all think you guys are just. Thank God for all of you. So.
Yeah, without military right now, you and I would not be able to publicly speak. Without military right now, Trump would not even still be in office.
Yeah, we'd probably be dead already.
Not even just dead. We would be completely deplatformed.
Yep.
There's no voice for any of us if it wasn't help with some white hat government agency, military op agency help. So I got complete faith in it. Obviously, there had to have been some help in Trump getting elected in 2016.
Yeah,
because they used Dominion systems in 2016. She was supposed to win. There was no doubt in her mind or any Democrat leadership mind that she was going to win because they had it in the bag.
Yeah.
They got hacked.
My recommendation and advice, and Stephen might have a different one. Obviously, if it's an option, until you know for sure what it is, don't take it.
Mm-hmm.
If it's mandatory, well, then you're going to have to trust.
Militarily mandatory?
Yeah, it sounds like the military is going to be mandated to take it.
That'll be interesting to see how that unfolds. I heard, what did I read? That over half, I read this today. If it was not in the military, it was somewhere else. Over half of the people were declining to take it. It was something that they were making mandatory somewhere, and half of the people already came back saying they absolutely were not going to take it.
Yeah, but I mean, can the military, can the rank and file soldier refuse?
I don't know.
I don't think they can.
I don't know. We'll have to find out. That's a good question for General Flynn.
Yeah.
Or General McInerney.
Somebody posted up in the thread a little bit here. Have you listened to the Bards of War with podcast with General Flynn, which I'm sure you have? It's coming, and we have to be prepared to fight back. POTUS will not push it, but the career criminals will.
Yep.
So,
and the career criminals are big pharma. So hopefully they're allowing all this to happen to expose them for the evil, corrupt pieces of S that they are.
Yeah.
Anyone that wants to give and any of these corporations that want to give you the vaccine for free away, there's possibly an alternate agenda to that too. I don't know.
What do I think about black sites other than Gitmo?
They exist.
They exist.
There's other prison in the world. I'll just put it that way.
Yep. And I'll agree. And I actually have done a thread on it, even though what I did in my thread is only partially correct. So we'll just leave it at that. And if you want to go find my thread, you're welcome to. But at this point, I'm not going to talk about it openly anymore, because let's just say that there's a lot of interesting places out in the world.
I refuse just because it's not something that's public. Two, it puts those institutions and those places, public attention doesn't need to be there yet. And when they're ready to come out publicly, they'll come out.
Do you think that there's going to be things that we don't learn, though? Do you think that there's going to be secrets that are kept that we'll never see?
Not in the immediate future, but if there's ever to be a true trust in government and a true trust in transparency ever again, then yes, it has to come out eventually.
Okay. Yeah, I agree. It's all got to come out. There's no way it can survive without it. It's got to be completely and fully disclosed. Otherwise, we're just fooling ourselves. So you received a letter in the mail offering you $1,500 to take the vaccine. Oh my God.
Yeah, they were paying 30,000 people to take the vaccine, and 30,000 people signed up. Well, okay, 90,000. Well over 120,000 people have signed up to get paid to take vaccines, because 4 companies needed to get the 30,000 threshold.
Is that what it was? Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry.
But they say there was a 95% plus recovery rate. So I don't know. I don't know what's going on. At times I wish I did, but I trust, have full faith that why wouldn't I have faith? I mean, Trump's done more in 4 years than I've seen, looking back now, done in 40, 50 years. We've been fooled for 40, 50 years.
Yeah.
That we had 2-party system. Even maybe longer than that, but I haven't been alive that long. So I can't, I know the Cabal banks controlled our governments for a long time, since the 1800s.
I think since probably the late 1800s, early 1900s, is probably the last time that we truly were free.
Yeah. Well, the Act of 1871 was a prequel to what's still happening today, because they made DC a corporation, they made the Vatican a corp, and the Bank of London corp. Yep. So all 3 of those have controlled our world for a long time.
Now, somebody mentioned a topic that's near and dear to my heart, asking about Kerry in Antarctica and his second trip there.
Mm-hmm. Second trip?
Yes, he just went back like within the past couple weeks.
Since our show, he went back? I didn't even know that.
Yes.
How does anyone know that?
Apparently they were advertising. I haven't dug on it at all, but I do know that he went.
Wow, that's big news.
So I guess that just kind of ties back into what I was kind of going with originally, is that they're communicating with something or someone down there, and that's where they're getting
Moloch within the ice.
Yep.
An ice dome.
Yep.
Is my thought.
I
definitely darkness down there.
If you haven't read my Antarctica thread, you need to. It'll answer pretty much every question you have about what's going on in Antarctica, and why Kerry and others have been going down there.
The Pope,
the Patriarch
of Rome, or of Russia.
Yeah, the Patriarch Kirill of Russia, the Russian Orthodox Church. Yep.
Obama.
Yeah, Obama. Like I say, you guys you need to go read my thread on it. It's I've done all of it, and I've laid it out, and it pretty much answers everything that I'm seeing people talking about in chat there. So
yeah, we did an interview with you specifically on Antarctica.
Yep. I and I did one for Quiet Voice about 3 weeks before that, and that's the only reason I've not done my own Antarctica show is because I've done it with you guys and them.
Yeah.
I'm just like, okay, enough for. I don't want to do my own show on it too right away. So
No, if you do, let me know so I can watch it.
yeah, I will definitely.
Because then you could cover all your threads. We have basically covered the one thread.
Yeah, we covered the one. We didn't hit all four. There's a lot of information there. Well, I mean, I've put so much work into that map that it's kind of funny. There was somebody had posted up a new Antarctica thread, and I'm going to just not say who it was, but I of course jumped into it and read it because I'm curious, and I was thinking, that sounds kind of familiar. Boy, that phraseology is awful similar. All right.
So they copied and pasted a little.
They creatively restructured some stuff, but I think there was more than a little inspiration going on there, and that's fine. I mean, I don't care. I say it more out of amusement than out of irritation. It's just like, all right, that's fine. As long as the information is getting out, that's all I really care about.
Yeah.
Yeah, I probably could do a whole seminar on the Antarctica threads.
You could. Yeah. That would be awesome.
I've been told I need to write a book, a bunch of stuff, but yeah, we'll see. I prefer.
Well, I think you should start the book, so then when the big reveals start happening, you're ready.
I'm there.
Yep, you're there for the final chapter, or you could do book 2.
Yeah, well, I could. Yeah. The problem with my view of the whole Antarctica thing is that I refuse to go flat Earth, and I'm not really ready to go opening to Hollow Earth. And by Hollow Earth, I mean 45-mile wide hole in the bottom of the planet that you can fly into, and there's a sun on the inside of the planet, and there's I don't know if any of you follow science fiction know what a Dyson sphere is, but that kind of idea inside of the planet.
I'm with you. No. I'm open to the dome, self-contained system within Antarctica, though.
And I'm certainly open to
with that lava heat
leading to older tunnels that exist within the crust.
Was anyone able to track Carrie's whereabouts this time on Antarctica?
I don't know. Again, I haven't dug into it.
Be interesting to see if he went to that mountain again.
Yeah, if he went to Erebus again and went to the summit again. And yes, Empire of Ice, Steve Quayle. In fact, right there.
Yeah.
We don't know what it is.
There's a reason why the Nazis were there.
Yes.
The cultists that were, in control, trying to control the world, were there for a reason.
This is another good one.
Mm-hmm.
For those of you that are into that kind of thing. Let's see here. This is another must-have. I don't know.
Bird? You have the Bird book?
No, this is Behold a Pale Horse.
Mm-hmm.
William Cooper. Let's see here. I think that's all that I have.
What about Bird's expedition to Antarctica? That was kind of weird.
The thing about Bird's expedition, there is a lot of weirdness about it, I'll admit. But the thing you got, I don't know, again, I kind of stay away from that whole thing because you get back into the flying disc thing, and then it's, okay, is it aliens or is it domestic? Or not domestic, but
worldly.
Yeah, that.
But it still could be unidentified flying object, definitely a disc.
Well, I'm of the belief, yes, Dano's Book Club. Anybody wants to know what I've got over there, feel free to ask. I'll rattle them off. In fact, I've thought about putting together a recommended reading list.
You should.
The thing that I think is a possible answer that we need to dig into is not necessarily aliens, but is past civilization peaks. One of the things I like to point out to people is that the human mind, the human body, the human condition has not changed appreciably in probably 200,000 years. So that means that humans of 200,000 years ago were capable of having the same thought processes, the same conversations, the same everything that we are right now. Okay. And the Neanderthals actually had even larger brains than we do. So potentially they could be even more intelligent than we are. And brain capacity is not everything, but the human brain is unique in its interconnectional, the way it interconnects, and how much neuronal connection there is. So with that, I think it's important that we realize that our ancient ancestors were not stupid. And if you look at what we've done in the past 200 years, how many times could civilization have peaked and fallen and peaked and fallen and peaked and fallen and peaked in just 200,000 years, not to mention 500,000 or so if we take in others, other potential civilization peaks. And if we say, okay, what if other things other than humans evolved to be advanced at some point in the planet too? How far back does that go? I mean, are we talking 2 billion years here? Right. So we don't know what all we have in our own history on this planet, let alone within our own time frame.
Yeah. So, or we do, and just no one's telling us because they're hiding it from us.
I'm laughing at Spiff because he's right. But anyway. Now there's just so many things that we haven't answered, and Stephen's right. The history's there. We're just not being allowed to know it. Think Vatican archives. Mm-hmm. Think, things that are not told us that we know. We're starting to learn that it's there and that it's true, but the truth has been hidden from us and mm-hmm. couched in allegory or hidden by religion or whatever. There's a lot of stuff.
Yep. So, well, it's just even, the Masons, they've been hiding truths from us for years. I mean, centuries. They took what they could from Jerusalem that the Vatican got remnants of. So they have just as much information as the Vatican. And tech, they're just as involved in tech and involvement with the CIA and all that, way ahead of their time, way ahead of our time, always. What we see like in this phone or a computer, they've already had tech in their hands for 20, 30, 40 plus years.
Or more, yeah. I mean, what's the rule of thumb? 50 years ahead of what we know.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Don't get me going on the Vatican. We could go there for days and hours, and
right.
That's almost as bad as Antarctica.
Hey, it's coming up on 2:00 though, my time. I'm in Alaska time, and my wife and I have plans this afternoon. And
right. Well, I really appreciate you coming on, Stephen. It's been wonderful to have you here.
It's been amazing. I this went by fast. I just got the text, and I couldn't even realize what time it was.
Mercy.
Yeah.
No.
Just a friendly love, heart with a friendly reminder that we got plans this afternoon.
Well, next time we'll get Duncan involved, and we'll just get some time, and we'll sit down and we'll just go.
Yeah. Just a quick shout out to Duncan. My co-host couldn't make it today. He is dog sitting a dog on its deathbed while the owners had to go get some stuff done today, but they wanted someone there to be with the dog in case it happened while they were gone. So he couldn't make it to the show. So prayers for him, prayers for the family, when they care enough to make sure their dog's comfortable, they love their dog. So just prayers for that family.
Yeah. Absolutely. And again, don't forget, let's pray for Curious Camo, who was supposed to be with us today, and through some unfortunate circumstances was not able to be here. And also Quiet Voice, our fellow Patriot YouTuber who is in the hospital with some lung issues, and we need to keep everybody in mind.
They just deplatformed him yesterday.
Yeah, they did deplatformed his main channel. He has a backup.
One of those.
Yeah. But everybody pray for each other. Keep all patriots in mind. And I don't normally say things like this, but definitely shield yourself in the armor of God, because there is a lot of negative going on around right now, and it's attacking patriots specifically. We can see that in just what we have going on around us, and patriots struggles. So, we need to keep everybody in mind. So,
and watch out for those shill accounts. There's purposely masked accounts coming out that are pretending to be big accounts, and they're there to divide and mislead people. So always vet who you're following and following back.
Yep. I'm going to hold to the fact that it was a bad guy that pushed me out of bed and made me fall and break my foot. So
yeah.
Anyway, so with that said, Steven,
thank you, Dano. I appreciate you. God bless.
Thanks,
Thank everyone in chat, everyone watching. I appreciate you.
Yes. And we will catch you all next time through. Thank you.